Thank you for joining us today. My name is Leah Love and I'm your host for Forum 360, where we have a global outlook from a local view. I am so excited today. We have Chrissy Myers, who is the CEO of AUI, which is Associated Underwriters Insurance, and she's going to talk to us today about insurance you can trust. So thank you for joining us, Chrissy.
Thank you very much, Leah. I'm excited to be here.
So tell me a little bit about your company and how long you've been in business.
Yes, so AUI has been in business since 1974. We're a generational family business. So when you talk about how I fell into the insurance realm, I kind of grew up in it. But we provide employee benefits and individual health insurance for families, companies that have from 1 employee to up to 1,000 employees.
Okay, so good. You work with small and big businesses.
Absolutely. So the SBA classifies small business as under 500, so we like to think of it that way too.
Okay, awesome. So you have been transitioning, like you said, family generational business. How has that transition been?
It's been interesting. It's been, I would say, if you're going to work on transitioning a business, don't expect it to be handed to you. So, I mean, we worked from a generational standpoint with my mom and dad. When I went into the business initially, I had no desire to stay in the industry. It was, if you want a car, you're going to work for us. If you want paid for college, you're going to work for us too. So I did. Every weekend, every break, every summer, I was there. And I mean, I love my mom and dad, but they gave me every crappy job that you could possibly imagine being in a small business. So when career path came, it was, I don't know that I really want to work for you. And they said, why don't you commit with us for about 6 more months? And if you like it, then you can decide to stay. And in that time, after I graduated, got my master's, they gave me everything that I wanted in a position. So I continued to stay there. My dad passed in 2016. So we dealt with death of a very transformational leader within our organization. And then my mom retired in 19, which allowed me to continue to work and foster at the helm. So transitioning in business, I mean, a lot of it is just having the right mindset. It's going to take a long time to do that. You have to make sure that you're developing the right relationships with your parents. And then one thing that I would say is that the goal of a family business transition is to still be a family when everything's finished. So yeah, making sure that you maintain those relationships as you transition, because there's moments that can be very difficult and very frustrating.
Now, how do you think you guys were able to get through those difficult moments? Like, are there tips that people could use to help with that? Because, that's kind of broad, but it's a real situation that'll happen.
Yeah, and it's a challenge because we're talking about generational family businesses, and a lot of businesses don't make it from first generation to second generation. And then it's even fewer that make it from second to third, and then from third to fourth. So what I would say for me, it was having a good team of support around me. So having a very good attorney, having a good accountant, having a good business coach that were able to kind of allow me to look at the perspective and the conversation of, your mom, who is the business owner, is not the enemy. So it's important that you're able to have these conversations, and direction may be different with what you want to do with your organization, but until you're truly the owner, there's some things that you have to work on maintaining with her in relationship. And then we were very open in the fact that we went to family therapy also while we were transitioning, because there are difficult conversations that have to be had, especially when you're dealing with other family members that may or may not want to be in the business, dealing with transitioning. If you have a spouse, what does that look like? So we made it a point, the two of us, to meet monthly, and we would talk about where we were with a counselor as far as transitioning the business. And for her, it was also about, what is she doing once she leaves the organization? What is her next step going to be? Because it's really important that you transition well as an owner into retirement. You need to detach because it was your baby for a really long time, and now it's kind of, you're handing it to somebody else, and you've got to be willing to just walk away.
I imagine that is probably the hardest thing for her to have to do.
I think there are moments where it's been difficult for her. She was fairly easy, I think, in comparison to some of my colleagues who have transitioned family businesses as well. She was ready to go and to find something new to do. So it was good. She also did what was it? Next with Leadership Akron. So it's something for retirees to work through. And so it connected her to some nonprofits, and she built some new relationships. So she kind of went into her next step, her 2.0.
Okay, so, that's a really good program. I have some clients who were in it, and they absolutely loved it. Yeah. So that's nice. It gives them something else to do and look forward to.
Yeah.
Okay, so insurance company, insurance agent, insurance broker, there's a lot of different names and terminology that's used.
Yeah.
Can you help us explain the difference between these?
Yes. So insurance company, whether it's in health insurance, life insurance, or property and casualty, so like home and auto, those are the companies that you buy the product from. So they're the ones that are providing the insurance. So in the health insurance industry, that would be like your United Healthcares, your Anthem, your Medical Mutuals, your CareSource, and then in like property and casualty, it would be kind of like Allstate, State Farm. So that's a carrier. As far as an agent goes, that's usually someone who represents only one carrier. So you'll see a captive agent for sometimes a Geico or an Allstate or Humana in the health insurance area. So that'll be specific where they're only allowed to sell one product. A broker is what we are at AUI, and so what it means for us is that we represent the individual or the business, and we find the right insurance product for them from a carrier standpoint. So we work as an intermediary between the carriers and the business to be able to find the right insurance product for them.
Okay, so I know for like microblading, for instance, if we contacted you, then you would go out and you would find the company that we needed. So that we wouldn't have to. So it's definitely beneficial for small businesses who do not know what they're looking for, and you guys can make sure that everything is covered under that, correct?
Absolutely. It gives you options.
Okay. Way more options than what you would find on your own.
Yes.
Okay. And so you said, tell me again, what are all of the services in particular that you provide?
Yes, so the majority of what we do is employee benefits for small businesses that have between 1 and 1,000 employees. So sometimes people think that because I'm a solopreneur, I can't afford or I can't have health insurance in a group plan. That's not accurate anymore. Some of the laws have changed, so we can provide benefits for one. Also,
now when you say benefits, give me examples of what benefits are, because that's kind of broad too, or some people are like, what does that mean?
What does that mean? It's not 401k. For us, it is health, vision, dental, life, short-term disability, long-term disability. That's when we talk about employee benefits or insurance benefits. In our case, that's what we're talking about. Is if it has to do with your body, then that's where we're working.
Okay, and you can provide that for 1 up to 1,000.
1 up to 1,000, and then we have individual policies that we do. We work with the population under 65 as well as over 65. There's a lot of organizations that no longer or choose not to provide benefits for their employees, so we help those individuals find insurance as well, either through healthcare.gov or through a private insurance plan.
Okay. And what makes your company unique?
Well, I think that we're unique because we believe in 12 months of service. So a lot of times with insurance, it renews one time a year. So you hear from your insurance agent or your insurance broker pretty quickly. They take you through the renewal process, they get you into your plan, and then they're kind of quiet the rest of the year. So what we believe is that if we're getting paid throughout the year, because every time you pay your premium, your broker's being paid by the carrier, then we should be doing something to provide service in addition. So we focus on the uniqueness of small business life. So making sure that we have tools that our employers can use. We have an exclusive employer portal that helps with training, handbook design, all sorts of things that you need as a small business. Question and answer support as well that's online. So that's something that we worked on, especially last year, to kind of round out from a service standpoint that we could provide as a value add for our employee benefit clients, our business clients. Another thing that we work on is that we're a woman-owned business. So 12% of employee benefit agencies, insurance companies within our industry are owned and operated by females in the C-suite. So I think it's really important that we shine that out, that we're one of the 12%.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love it. I love supporting all female businesses. Okay, can you tell me, what are some issues in medical bills and insurance?
Okay, so what's really important right now, so we've had a lot of things happen with COVID. So some individuals have had claims as a result. So what I would say is that it's really important to know how your benefits work and make sure that you're using the right system. So if you have a benefit plan, an insurance plan that is very specific in the network that you can use. For example, it's only Metro Health, it's only Cleveland Clinic, or it's only Summa Health System. You want to make sure that you're only accessing the doctors and hospitals that are included in your plan, because that's going to be the most cost-effective way to receive care. The other thing I would say is to always look at your EOB, or explanation of benefits. So that's usually either the piece of paper or the email that you get from your carrier that says, hey, you received services, this is what the bill rate was supposed to be, this is how much the insurance company reimbursed, this is how much you owe. I mean, medical billers and carriers make mistakes all the time, so it's really important to pay attention and understand what your plan covers, so that way you can say, you know, I got charged this amount, but I think I should have been charged a different amount, or I didn't receive that service. I was there for a physical and they billed me for a regular office visit. So I want to make sure that I get all of the benefits that my plan can provide. And the last thing I would say is that if you do have an issue with billing, or you want to appeal if you don't agree with the way a claim was paid.
What's the process?
Yes. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that, but usually it's via email first through the appeals process. What I would say is, as you're going through that process, your agent or your broker can always help you with that. That's something that we do at AUI, is we kind of provide the tools and kind of give you some of the verbiage and the way in order to go through that appeals process, because ideally it needs to be done by the person that has the coverage. We can't do all of those things, but we can walk you through it. But the one thing that I tell people specifically is to be persistent. I don't want to say that you need to be squeaky all the time, but if you're really persistent and follow up through your appeals process, a lot of times your appeals can get resolved.
Okay. Is there only one appeal process, or is it like final decision when that comes back the first time?
No.
Okay.
There's multiple layers of appeals depending on the carrier. Every carrier has their own appeals process that they go through, and then if you really are upset with things, you can always appeal to the Ohio Department of Insurance, or you can make a complaint.
Perfect.
Yes.
If you are just tuning in, we are talking to Chrissy Myers, who is the CEO of AUI, which is Associated Underwriters Insurance, and we are talking about an insurance company that you can trust. And she is just sharing with us information about your insurance policy and how to be more effective with it. Now, the other thing is, some businesses were fine and some were hurt during the pandemic. So how did your business thrive and survive throughout this? I know your industry is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it definitely, for us, it depended on the day. For me specifically, it depended on the day. I mean, in the early parts of the pandemic, it was definitely survival. There was a lot of concern and worry about, my team, our clients, our community. So we had to take some time and just work on really focusing and being resilient. For me also, we realized, I guess our company realized, that people don't cancel their insurance in a pandemic. Kind of thought that they might. You never know.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
They probably realized they needed it more.
We did. We had several that were calling going, can I still get coverage? And absolutely you can. And what's really nice is that the federal government allowed healthcare.gov to continue to enroll individuals throughout the pandemic. So you can still have a special enrollment period. Normally you're limited between November and December when you can get coverage, and right now you can get it any time. So It's been very helpful for those individuals who may find themselves unemployed or may find themselves without coverage, and now they're thinking, it might be a good idea to get insured. So that's been helpful for us as a company.
Have there been any other changes that have come through that people should be made aware of?
So we had some changes initially that were dealing with employer-sponsored coverage as far as providing additional benefits should you have someone that was laid off due to COVID. We've had some changes with the CARES Act, which is another reason why it's really important to have an agent who's paying attention. Carriers continue to give different updates as to what is covered and what is not covered now. A lot of COVID testing, COVID treatment is all covered net of deductible, so you don't have to pay any additional from an expenditure standpoint. So yeah, we've continued to have changes in the insurance industry throughout this.
All right.
Pay attention. That's what we do.
Fun times, right?
Yes.
Now, a lot of businesses also struggled with their team members. So
Yeah.
How were you guys able to continue to leverage everybody, keep their morale high, just manage that team throughout the process?
Yeah, so what I would say is to kind of back up a little bit, COVID is not the first time that I've had to be resilient as a business leader. As a business owner, yes, but as a business leader, no. So in 2013, the Affordable Care Act was the first year that it was implemented. And that started on October 1st of 2013, and I lost my husband on August 31st of 2013 that year. So we had a 30-day window that we were working on getting ready for ACA, and I had to bury my husband. So that happened. And then in 2016, my father passed away, who was a generational leader for our organization. So those two things happening taught me a few things. They taught me to be calm and competent as I communicate, to breathe through being uncomfortable, also to listen and check in. So something that I did a lot through the pandemic was check-ins with our team. How are you feeling? What are you doing? How can I help you be more effective today? Things that I normally wouldn't share with them from a financial standpoint, how many days of cash we had on hand, if we were applying for any additional assistance through the SBA. I was very open with them through that process so that they felt comfortable to be able to move through some of the transitions that we were going through. And then something else that I think was really important that I didn't really do in 13 when I lost my husband was that I didn't take time to just for myself, but then also to kind of have fun. So we had a lot of stressful things going on during ACA. We obviously had a lot of stressful things going on during COVID. So we took time to kind of laugh and spend time with each other in a virtual environment as a team. We had a goat come to our Zoom meeting. We spent time with Mystic Meadows Alpaca Farm and Boutique. They gave us a farm tour one day. So instead of it being a staff meeting in the state of AUI, we took a tour and got to see a whole bunch of alpacas. So it was super fun. We now have a YouTube video on it. I'll have to send it to you so you can see it.
That is definitely, just taking time sometimes to disconnect can keep everybody rejuvenated.
Absolutely.
And especially in the crisis that we had, I could see how that could be beneficial and just different and creative. I like that. Now, you give back to the community.
Yes.
And tell us how our community has benefited from you giving back.
So at AUI, we believe that serving the community is just as important as doing business in the community. So we created AUI Gives Back as a way to celebrate that, celebrate what our employees were doing in the community and give back in service, and also to encourage them to even do a little bit more under our banner. So what we do specifically, there's a couple of things. The first is we do an AUI Gives Back initiative where we track all of our volunteer hours as employees, and the individual who has the most hours every year gets to give a $1,000 donation to the charity of their choice. So that's super cool.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, if I think about the landscape too of our team, it's just that we have so many that are on different boards and serving at the food bank, serving in their churches and different shelters, building homes with Rebuilding Together in Northeast Ohio and Habitat for Humanity. I mean, it's wonderful to look out and see all of the different things that are important to them and that they give back with. Another project that we just did this year was we had Give Something Away Day, which was in July. And I challenged the sales team and said, give me the names of several nonprofits that you think that you would like to support that are local that, I haven't been introduced before, or you haven't been introduced before, and let's kind of build from that. So we used Knitting for Cancer, Access, a homeless shelter for women in Akron. What was another one? Trails for Travis.
Okay.
Piper's Keys, which does books for children that have a developmental disability or they're connected to someone in their family with a disability. So we have some connections with individuals who have family members with autism and other family members with Down syndrome and different things. So it was a great connection. And then Kelly's Grief Center was another one that we were able to give a donation to. And the employees got to pull everything together and they got to take the check and deliver it and take a picture and be really excited, learn more about the organizations that they were supporting. And it was really wonderful to kind of just be able to spread that awareness with some of these organizations that are relatively small. Some of them are fairly new. Just another way to continue to give back.
There's so many organizations that need assistance, that even just need exposure. So the fact that you're able to do that, and I know your employees love being able to share that with these organizations.
They do.
I love it. Because sometimes some people may want to help and donate, and maybe they just don't have the time, but they can at least get them the resources and the assistance that they need. So it gives them both that opportunity.
Yes.
They can either go volunteer or just get them. Yeah.
Always something. You can volunteer, you can give a donation, even just a shout out on social media and connecting someone else to another organization that they're not aware of. You may be the connector that keeps that nonprofit moving forward or connects them to a whole nother donor base or awareness group that they didn't know about. So.
And you are really good at connecting people. I swear that should be your middle name. Because you know every organization and every business in this community. I can literally call her and ask her, who do you know that can do this or that can do that? And she's got 10 names for me. So it's amazing. That's a gift, actually,
thank
you're
you.
able to connect with people.
It's what
in
I
that
love
way.
doing. That has been, if someone asks me, what do you like most about your job? I would say it's that I get to connect people with other people who don't know each other and get to see the ripples of what they do in the world.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, so speaking of supporting businesses, how do you support women in business or women in the community in particular?
Yeah. So specifically, I feel like I am called to be a cheerleader of small business leaders. So it's with hugs and high fives, kind of sharing that journey with them, that connector of who can I connect you with? Who do you need assistance from? Have you thought through some of your legal things, your HR, your accounting? You know, I'm not the expert in all those things, but I know a lot of people that are. So I love connecting them. And also, there's a statement that balance is not found, it is created. So really being willing to have some of those conversations about how do you balance all of the things in your life. I mean, business can be scary, but at the same time, I mean, sometimes being a mom can be scary too, and you manage those things, and it can be a both and. There isn't a I can only do one thing. We can do all things. We absolutely can. It's just a matter of having the right support system in place to be able to do that. So
I literally don't know how you do it sometimes because you get a lot done and you are running your business, still being a mom, and doing all of this community work. And I'm like, she's still everywhere and she sends her emails on time. I'm like, how do you get that done?
I have a really great team, and that's it. That's the testament to it. It's a great team at work, a great team at home, a great community team, and I know amazing people who are good cheerleaders for me too. So you do the same thing. I don't want to hear it.
All right, so let's talk about your growth. What have been some organizations, classes, books that have been fundamental to your success?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say as a business owner, falling into the connections and pulling the business, creating something that is truly mine. It was going through Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. And I met some amazing people too. It was really nice to be able to be connected to people that kind of feel the same way I do about my business. I didn't really know that they existed. I know that we work at AUI, we work with small business owners all the time, but we talk about like, here's your benefits, here's what, we don't talk about the ins and outs of what does it feel like to have to make payroll, to start a new business, to start a new product, to manage employees. We don't always talk about those things. It was really nice to have that environment all together. As far as books go, there's so many. There are so many. I would say Dare to Lead with Brene Brown. That was a good one for me. I love anything that Brene does.
Okay.
Crucial Conversations is a really good one about being brave and being able to have difficult conversations, because I will just admit now that I am an avoider. I don't always like to have those things that are uncomfortable. I'm getting better at it. Yeah, and then as far as organizing my time, there's a book by Michael Hyatt called Free to Focus. Okay. And so he has like a planner and all sorts of things that go with it, but also just thinking about how to chunk out your day and your time. You talk about how do you get everything done. I kind of studied that a lot when he came out with that book, and that was really helpful for me. So, yeah.
I love it. And I love Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses, because you do feel like you're the only one who is struggling in certain areas, or that you're the only one who's gone through this, and then you have a group of 20 people who are like, oh yeah, I remember when I went through that.
Yes.
And this is how I got through that, and you're like, oh gosh, thank you.
Everybody's got, somebody's either experienced it or they've had a plan. And I would say that too, any type of leadership or professional development, as long as you go in with an open mind and the goal that, you know what, I may not get along with everybody, or I may not get to know everybody, but I'm going to get to know one person really well. As long as you do that, you've made it successful for you.
Yes, I 100% agree. Now you did mention, and I'm not sure if you did mention, I think you did, you got remarried. Now, as a single person with a business, and just thinking about how you made that transition with your family business, with now the new marriage, what are some tips as far as how to, successfully merge those, but still protect your family business at the same time?
Absolutely. So I was married before, had 2 kids, Maddie and Caleb, and then I met a wonderful man, Steve, and now we are married, and Steve has adopted the kids, and we are called Team Awesome Sauce.
Yay.
So when you have a dad who's very driven with goals and making sure that we set up for success, and a mom in branding, you come up with a team name and a team set of core values. So what I will say is that it's really important to be honest with your spouse going in and having those conversations about not necessarily what's mine, what's yours, but what is ours going to look like. I mean, a lot of times when you talk about prenup, and I don't know if you probably have attorneys in the audience and they're going to cringe, but we've negotiated the terms of our divorce, you get nothing. So it's really important. Nothing says I love you like we've negotiated our divorce and you're out of luck, dude. So for us, it was looking at what is the right way to structure things. There have been business ventures that we have created as a result that were not there before we got married. So it's really important that we intentionally have that talk that we're creating an empire together. So he does a lot of things in real estate and with trading and supporting AUI and Clarity HR, which is our fractional HR business. So he's doing a lot of things to support that, as well as being the homeschool dad at our house. So I mean, he's doing all of that work, and it's been really important that we talk about that. But I would say, especially as a woman, as you're thinking about it, I mean, Ohio has some interesting things, and I am not a lawyer giving legal advice, but I would look into potential legacy trusts. I would talk to an estate planning attorney, and I would talk to a business attorney, because it's really important, depending on how you're filed as an S Corp or a C Corp or a sole proprietor. There's different rules and regulations that go with all of that. So knowing that you have a sound attorney and a sound accountant that you can trust is really I would say it's the first step that's really important to making sure that you protect your business.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
Forum 360 is brought to you by John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, the Akron Community Foundation, Hudson Community Television, the Rubber City Radio Group, Shaw Jewish Community Center of Akron, Blue Green, Electric Impulse Communications, and Forum 360 supporters.